I'm Zach, this is IPFRacing, and I just bought a donor motor that came with a free car. Let's take a look. This project has made my driveway look like a parking lot, but I think this is going to work out for the best. So this is a 2015 Chevy Caprice, former cop car, stripped down, basically nothing inside of it, but I bought it for, well, one big reason, and that's really for the motor. So somehow cheaper for me to buy a whole car that's not in the best shape to get the motor and all the other little odds and ends I need for this thing, and hopefully then I can sell the rest of the parts to make up the difference. So I'm gonna get everything torn apart and try to get the motor on the stand today. So here's a hyperlapse of me tearing out another motor and trans. Now that I got the motor on the stand, I'm going to try to clean up some of this oxidation on the aluminum. I've got some Scotch-Brite and some Simple Green, and I'm going to go to town for a little bit and hopefully clean it up a little bit more before I pull it all apart and start working on some of the internal stuff. So let's get after it. Alright, the Simple Green and Scotch-Brite didn't do a whole lot. I also didn't have a lot of patience to try to make it look super nice, but I think that's okay because when I pull the heads off and tear them down, I'm going to take them to my buddy's shop and hot tank them. And then the valley cover is getting replaced, and I can clean off the front cover a little bit more when it's off the car or off the motor. It should be a little bit easier, and these valve covers are going to get sandblasted and powder coated, so I'm not worried about that either. But what I'm going to do now is get the valve covers, the rockers, the valley cover, the balancer, and the front cover pulled off. That way I can get the cam out. I'm probably going to make a huge mess, but gotta start somewhere, so let's do it. Helps if I start with the right socket. Oh, there we go. Good Lord. Well, valve cover seals, even though it doesn't look like they were doing their job. Clearly they were doing something. Wow, that looks surprisingly clean in there. That is, that's nice to see. This reminds me, I think I need new ones of these, unless they already came in my other stuff. Yeah, all right. Valve cover, now rocker. Oh. Ow. Alright, it's been a while since I took apart an LS. I say that like I've done it a lot of times. I've done it once. And I'm a big fan of sloppy mechanics. So that's how I do it. That's how they do it. Good stuff. Push rods, are you guys all straight? Well, that one's got dirt on it. Cool. Look at these puppies. Last time I took that LS apart. No, I took two of them apart. Yeah, my old Caprice, yeah. I turned those into a steel Christmas tree with two 6-liter camshafts, and Danielle and I still use it to this day. Pretty dope. Okay, that was rockers, push rods. Let's do the same thing on this side. Alrighty. Another set of rockers. Which one are you still connected? There we go. Alright, pull out the little push rods. For anybody that's watching this, it's just like, oh my gosh, I've never done this before. How do you do stuff like that? Just do it. It's like Legos. It's just things are bolted together. All you're doing is unbolting them, and then you want to like put them back in the right order, and you just look up how to do that online. Maybe it's a confidence thing. I don't know, but it's not that hard. Look at it. You just watch me do it. It's not hard. Pull the valley cover off. I guess for those of you that don't know, the main reason I'm doing this, normally I would just leave an LS alone, but this Gen 4 LS has displacement on demand or active fuel management, whichever acronym you want to use. basically it turns itself into a 4-cylinder when you're like light cruising on the highway or something. The hydraulic lifters, which are under the head, that the push rods go up and down on, the 4 that are for the 4-cylinder deactivation part, they fail eventually, like pretty commonly. That's how I got my last Caprice for so cheap. And then those lifters ride on the cam, and when it fails, it just goes on the cam lobe and takes out the cam. So this valley cover here is where a lot of that happens. There's a lot of hydraulic stuff going on in here, little electronic stuffs. So this connector back here is for. And so deleting all that, super common. Lots of YouTube videos how to do that, whatever. But getting rid of it, turning the LS back to a super reliable LS. And I will say that like a lot of people really hate on the DoD stuff, but like it doesn't always fail. It's just the common thing that does fail on an LS when something fails. So like stateside, a lot of guys will buy a Caprice and they'll be like, oh, I gotta get rid of DoD immediately. No, you don't. Just drive it until it goes and then replace it. For me, my Caprice was my daily driver, so that was my beater car. When I had my Turbo LS Volvo. So I just wanted it to run again. It was also, I got it during the first GM strike of my employment there, the union strike, and so it was impossible to get parts that weren't like OEM parts already in stock at a dealership. So that Caprice I had, it dropped one lifter, or it had one collapsed lifter. It had just started to wipe out the first lobe on the cam. So I replaced it with an original cam, which was like 85 bucks at the dealership with my employee discount. I replaced the one lifter that failed. I replaced this valley cover manifold, and I went on my merry way. And I'm pretty sure it still has DoD to this day. The owner lives like 30 minutes from here. Because I sold that car and bought an RX-8 like an idiot. Ooh, yum. Ooh, yum. Okay, so DoD I was talking about. Here's the electronic crap that makes that happen. Essentially, all these ports have oil in them. This cylinder, that cylinder, that cylinder, and this one are the ones that turn off. So, on my Caprice, it was this one. And, yeah, it was that first lifter. You could see the lobe on the cam where it was trashed. But essentially, what happens here is I'm going to block off all these ports the sloppy mechanics way with I'll show you when that part comes in. It's really just a tapered bearing where the little rollers happen to be like just big enough to be a press fit in here, and you just hammer them in, boom, covered. So yeah, the next thing here, I think we'll do the heads. Yeah, so we'll pull cylinder heads off. This is pretty much trash because we're not reusing that. I don't know if I got a new oil pressure sensor, but I probably should because they go out all the time too. But yeah, that cam actually looks like it's in really good shape. This motor has like 150,000 miles on it. So that is impressive. Let's see. That is a 10 mil. So take off the little head bolts. And we'll take out the big head bolts. I don't actually know if my little Milwaukee guy here will do these very well, but we'll see. Yep. Yeah, let's pull out the spark plugs first, so I don't have to like try to wrestle with them on the bench because they look like they've been in there for a while. All right, spark plugs. Let's make room for when the heads do come off. All right. because I use a bakery speed rack to help organize a lot of my machine stuff, it came with a couple full-size cooking trays. And if you, like in the brake caliper teardown video, I use the same thing. It's just really convenient. I'm obviously not cooking food on here, so it don't matter, but it's an easy way to keep the shop kind of clean. Oh yeah, because it's already dripping all over the place. Why don't I put one down here? Yeah, buddy, look at that. I was gonna do this outside so I didn't have to worry about it, but it's too hot. Alrighty. There you have it. Look at that. Cylinder head. Pretty cool. That's a good looking head gasket. Alright, I like that. That's good. And actually, I think I can fit both cylinder heads on here, so that's a win. Yeah, there's the rest of the coolant. Oops, that was a little aggressive. Alright, another healthy looking head gasket that didn't want to come off on its own, so that's a good sign. Means it was sealed pretty well. Yeah, it looks good in there. Cool. Cool. Only a little bit of coolant on the floor. I didn't even look at the pistons yet. They look alright. That one's got some buildup. Yeah, they look alright. Whoa! There's still a bunch of cross-hatching in the cylinders. I like that. Now I could take out these plastic lifter trays. You can just... Ugh, they just look so brittle. I hate it. I hate it. Terrible design. Garbage. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Alright, lifter tray bolts. Yeah, these are in pretty good shape, it looks like. So, this is the hydraulic lifter. It goes up and down, yeah. Pumps up and down, push rod sits in here. Give me a push rod. Push rod sits in here, right? Hits the rocker, moves the valve up and down based on where the cam is. Again, if that's too technical, that's fine, because I don't know how to do stuff like that, so. Anyways, these look good. My Caprice, the first one what happened, this guy was twisted 90 degrees. The lifter tray failed, and so this was just like bobbing around-ish. It's kind of stuck and just hitting the cam, so nice to see that these are in good shape, but these are all getting replaced, so put these over here. These ones look about the same, so that's nice. These will probably get added to my next metal Christmas tree art project thing. Here are the normal lifters. We like to see normal lifters. Look at that. Again, this one and this one are the DoD ones. You can just tell by the way they are. Yeah, cool, all right. If I had bought this Caprice to just drive, I would be very happy that this is how it looked inside of the motor. I would just drive the absolute crap out of it. I certainly did when I bought it. But driving that car for the 30 minutes I did, and maybe 45 minutes if you include going to find a place to do a burnout, really solidified why I wanted to do a wagon. It's a good platform. The Australian guys are like, that's just a crappy wagon over here. Nah, man. It's cool. We don't have cool stuff like that here. All right, there is all of the top end disassembled. You can see the cam through the valley in here. Next step is taking off the balancer and then taking off the front cover And then pulling the cam out and definitely not looking at the cam bearings. You don't look at your cam bearings or else they'll be bad. Everyone knows that. And if you don't, that's another sloppy mechanics joke. That's a very, it's probably fine mentality, and I'm a fan. So, impact off the balancer bolt, and then heat the bejesus out of it and pull it off. Wow, look at that. That was not hard at all. Yeah, so normally what you do is torch inside of this so that the balancer expands off of the crank. You can pull the balancer off the crank. This is what happens when you don't look stuff up and you're just like, I'm gonna do this from memory. But you can't remember. And I think everybody that knows me will be like, that dude has a terrible memory, so yeah, don't just go based off your memory. Forget that. All right, so this setup's pretty simple. In the end of the crank, at the end of the threaded hole where the bolt was to hold the balancer on, you shove this hardened steel rod in there, and then these 3 little arms grab on the back of the pulley. You tighten this threaded guy that I'm tightening right now, that I'm pretty sure that, oh yeah, no. I need the next longer one, just this one. Okay, it's holding itself on there now. Let me get the little 1/2" to 3/8 adapter, which I'll probably just snap in half. Ah, I'm an idiot, I went backwards. There we go. That is how you're supposed to do it. No heat necessary. Heat only necessary to install, because you can't do that backwards, clearly. So, balancer, that's what your belt's going, because the crank is spinning, and that's what drives everything else, is off. Now, I can take off the front cover, and that will expose the rest of the crank, well, from here, and the cam. Yeah. Let's see, these are all 10 mils. All right, front cover. Look how clean that is in there. Heck yeah, son. Okay, so timing chain keeps the crank and the cam timed together, right? That's getting replaced. And this is the oil pump, right? Crank spins through here. Little eccentric guy goes woo, 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 creates oil pressure. Send oil everywhere. From the oil pan, this pickup tube bolts from this direction. And if you ever have really low oil pressure after you freshly build something, that is probably the cause. There's an O-ring right there, and if it's not seated correctly, then you don't get oil pressure. So I need to undo these 4 bolts. I need to take the oil pan off, so I have to flip it over, which is probably gonna make a gigantic mess. But I think that's the next step. I did drain the oil out of it, so that shouldn't be terrible. Hey, there's some more coolant. I think we'll take the oil cooler off. You can probably see it now a little bit. And then take the pan off and see how that goes. Where'd the rest of that pig mat go? If you don't know pig mat, it's just like this absorbent mat stuff. That's just like the generic trade name for it. At least that's what I've always heard it called. Oh yeah, there goes the oil, baby. That oil filter is still full. So I don't know how well you can tell, but oil, this is like normal fitting block on the side of the oil pan, but oil goes in here. You can see where the passages go. They go into this big heat exchanger, and that exchanges with the coolant, which the coolant should be lower than the oil temp. But anyways, bunch of 10 mils now. I'm gonna leave that there to drain for a minute. Okay. And there is the oil pan and gasket. Oh, are those... Oops. Oh, I was like, man, there's some big chunks in there. Nope, that's just part of the casting. Well, wow, there's a lot more in there than I expected. Let that drain out on the cookie sheet. Then I can disconnect the pickup tube, take off the oil pump, take out the cam. Yeah, we're moving right along. Has this been like an hour? Freaking crushing it. Yeah, that bolt went right in the oil. I mean, there's no metal bits in the pickup tube, so that's nice. All right, oil pump off. Probably has some. Nothing in it. Cool. Crank bolt. Cam bolt. Words. But I'm gonna undo these two bolts. That's the tensioner for the chain, timing chain. And then I can pull, oh, or I can just do it that way, I guess. Cool. Oh, now everyone's favorite part. These, I don't know if you can see very well, these are like T40s or something. They're Torx heads. And that's just like the absolute worst design for a bolt like this that's got a bunch of Loctite on the back of it. Because you can't get a bunch of torque on a Torx fitting to take that off. That's dumb. It's the right size. It is, look at that. Okay, in case you don't know, this is what I'm talking about. You can see how this one's already twisted. Because I've already done this job before and it sucks. Maybe this one will be better because the rest of this motor's been pretty nice, but... Okay, well, I talked it up for nothing, I guess. That was way easier. My old Caprice, I think I had to take an angle grinder to the head of one of these and turn it into a flathead. But this plate is what holds the cam. You hear that? That's the cam moving back and forth. Boom. This is another like more rare place for there to be oil pressure loss, is like this gasket's bad on the cam retainer plate. Apparently, that's just from me reading. I don't actually know what I'm talking about, but let's pull out the cam. Oh, weak pull-out game. Come on. Come on with it. Woo! Camshaft. Sick. Who needs one? Come get it. I just threw it on the ground. Oh, I looked at my cam bearings. Oh, they're bad. Just kidding. They're fine. So that's it for tearing down the motor. That's as far with the teardown as I'm gonna go. I'm not taking the crank out. I'm not doing bearings. I'm not doing rods. I'm not doing pistons. If I have to do those in the future, it's probably because one of them went through the side of the block. So they're gonna stay stock for now. They're pre-gapped because it's got 147,000 miles on it. And then I'll get the new cam put in. I think what I'm gonna do first is take the valves and springs out of these heads and then get those hot tanked. I think I'm gonna try to hot tank the oil pan as well. All right, I got the floor cleaned up, dumped out those baking sheets, and moved the motor over in the corner there. But the next thing I need to do before I take these get hot tanked tomorrow is take the valves out. And so the valves are in the head, right? There's valve spring here, retaining ring here, and then these little retainer clips. They make spring compression tools, valve removal tools, whatever, that clamp from both sides, like a big C clamp. You pull all this stuff out. But like I said, we're gonna do the sloppy mechanics way, which is definitely not like, you know, OEM approved. But you can see I've just got a 3/4 inch wrench here. It's got a hole in it from where I did this last time. But this is like the perfect size to be able to pull out the little retainers after bolting this down. So I'm gonna use this hole here, which is from the rocker, and this is a leftover head bolt, smaller one. And since I'm replacing all of the head bolts with studs, this is not gonna like ruin anything. And if I go slow, hopefully I won't tear up these threads. Like I said, definitely not the, you know, most approved method, but this is how I'm gonna do it, and it's probably gonna work just fine. So I'm gonna tighten this bolt down. It's gonna compress the spring. I can pull the retainers out. I can loosen the bolt, take the retainer off and the spring. And then after I do all of them, flip it over and pull all the valves out. And that'll be that. Retainers. Threads look fine. Spring and whoop, spring, retainer. Done. And then I guess I'll pull these valve seals out too afterwards, but yeah, that's all it is. It's not complicated, not rocket surgery. I need a Sharpie. This is front, that's the, let's see if this is front. One, 3, 5, 7. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Not myself, that's for sure. All right. And of course I picked like the double-walled cardboard for no reason. Cardboard thing here is also like super popular garage mechanic trick. I'm trying to say tip and trick at the same time. For like if you take bolts out of a gasket and you don't know which orientation they're supposed to go back in, you just trace the gasket or draw out a crude representation of the gasket and then put all those in it. Valve seals, we'll just buy new ones of these. I think these are like 20 bucks for, I think 25 bucks for each side. So good insurance to make sure you're not going to leak oil into the cylinders from the valve cover. Is this one, this does not have the coolant temp sensor in it, so there shouldn't be anything else to pull out of here. This can go in a bin for hot tank. A bin or the 3D printer box, whatever the hell I'm gonna use. Heck, whatever the heck I'm gonna use. Sorry, kids. Stand it up to drain some more oil out of it. That seems appropriately shady for the level of work I do. And let's do it again. All right. All tool, 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 hit, hit, hit. Ta-da! All right, both cylinder heads torn down, motor torn down. Time to clean, so hot tank, and then once I get these back from hot tank, which will just be tomorrow afternoon, I'll probably start some sort of reassembly, I think. I've got to measure for new push rods. That tool will be here tomorrow morning. So I'll get the heads reassembled, and then I can get the cam installed. Then I can measure for push rods. I can get the valley cover back on. All right, so now that everything's torn down and ready to go off and get cleaned and then reassembled, I think the way I'm gonna do these videos might be a little bit different going forward. I was trying to do like individual vehicle subsystems like all together. So like I did, you know, I did like the suspension measuring video, the engine, or like the engine bay teardown stuff. But I think now it'll just be kind of like a weekly build update, which honestly is probably more entertaining because then you get to follow along with my shenanigans in like real time. Not that they weren't really real time before, but you don't have to wait. There's no like continuity error. You're not like, oh, what's that in the background? I didn't see that before. Maybe nobody's asking that question. I don't know. But either way, I'm gonna do a weekly build update video like this for the rest of them, just because I don't have a ton of time and I'm trying to fit these in. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I think now that I have a motor and all the other spare parts from the Caprice, putting everything back together, that's a lot more progress and a lot more fun to watch, I imagine. So, I'm Zach. This is IPFRacing. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, buy some merch so I can pay for this.